Poor street boy sings Hotel California, judges break down in tears. The night air in Manila was heavy with the scent of roasted corn and exhaust fumes as 12-year-old Marco stood barefoot on the cracked pavement. His shirt hung loosely on his thin frame, and his guitar, a second-hand relic missing 2 strings, rested gently in his arms. For years, this street corner had been his stage. He sang for coins, not applause, hoping to earn enough each night for a small packet of rice to take home to his grandmother. Music was Marco's only escape. His parents had been gone for as long as he could remember, his mother taken by illness when he was a toddler, and his father, well, no one spoke of him anymore. His grandmother, fragile and nearly blind, often told him, "Your voice is a gift, Marco. One day, it will open doors no one can close." Marco believed her. Or at least, he wanted to. One hot afternoon, as Marco strummed a tune outside the bustling night market, a man in a polo shirt stopped and listened. The man didn't just throw coins in the open guitar case, he stayed until Marco finished the song. Then he knelt down and said, "Kid, you ever thought about singing somewhere bigger than this street?" Marco laughed softly. "Sir, this street is my stage." The man smiled. "Not anymore. My name's Peter. I work with the talent auditions downtown. Tomorrow, they're holding tryouts. I'll put your name on the list." Marco's heart pounded. The idea was terrifying, singing in front of real judges, under bright lights, with cameras rolling. But that night, lying on the hard mat beside his grandmother, he whispered to himself, "Maybe this is it." The next morning, wearing his cleanest shirt and carrying his patched guitar, Marco walked nervously into the grand audition hall. The space was nothing like the streets he knew. Air-conditioned, polished floors, and rows of people clutching microphones and dreams. His number, 172, was pinned to his chest. When it was finally his turn, Marco stepped onto the stage, the lights so bright they made him squint. The 3 judges sat in a row, their expressions polite but unreadable. "What will you be singing?" one of them asked. "Hotel California, sir," Marco replied, gripping his guitar tightly. There was a murmur among the crowd, an ambitious choice for a boy his age. Marco took a deep breath, strummed the first chord, and began to sing. His voice was pure, gentle yet rich with emotion far beyond his years. The words rolled out not as a mere cover but as a story he had lived, each lyric colored with longing and resilience. By the time he reached the chorus, the room had fallen silent, the kind of silence that wasn't emptiness but awe. Halfway through the song, Marco's voice cracked, not from nerves, but from the weight of the lyrics. In that moment it was clear he wasn't just singing a classic rock ballad, he was pouring out the story of every lonely night, every hungry evening, every whispered prayer. When the last chord faded, Marco lowered his guitar and looked up. One of the judges, a stern woman known for her sharp critiques, had tears streaming down her face. Another judge covered his mouth, shaking his head as though words had failed him. The woman spoke first, her voice trembling. "Marco, you just turned this song into something new. You made us feel it. That's what music is all about." The audience erupted into applause, loud, genuine, unstoppable. Marco stood frozen, unsure whether to smile or cry. Then the middle judge leaned forward and said, "Kid, you're going to the finals. And whether you win or not, I promise, people are going to know your name." Backstage, Peter hugged him. "See? I told you, the street wasn't your only stage." In the weeks that followed, Marco's performance went viral. Millions watched the clip online, drawn not just to his voice, but to the raw truth in it. Offers began to pour in, a scholarship to a music school, a spot on a charity concert tour, even a record label's interest. But the first thing Marco did wasn't to sign a contract or buy himself new clothes. He went home to his grandmother, placing a warm bag of food in her hands. "We won, Lola," he whispered. "Not money, not trophies, hope. We won hope." Months later, During the finals, Marco walked on stage again, not barefoot this time, but in polished shoes and a shirt that fit. His grandmother sat in the front row, her eyes shining even though she could barely see. Before singing, Marco addressed the crowd. "I used to think music was about surviving. But now I know, it's about sharing. Every song I sing is for someone who feels forgotten. Because none of us are truly forgotten." His performance that night was even more moving than his audition. The judges cried again. The audience stood, clapping long after the final note. Marco didn't just win the competition, he won hearts. And as his career began, he made a promise to himself: no matter how big the stage, he would always go back to that street corner sometimes, to sing for the people who first listened when no one else would. Because Marco understood something the world often forgets: sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness, like stopping to listen to a barefoot boy sing, can change a life forever. And perhaps, in changing that one life, you change the world.